So good afternoon, everyone. I guess I'm addressing people who run the university, Colonel Surojit Bose, uh, Madam Dean. I was not introduced with a name, so I don't know your name. Ishita. Manisha ji. And esteemed faculty members, uh, and all the boys and girls who are going to embark on this wonderful journey of the world of design. The education is just the beginning, and then obviously you're going to fly into the world. Today is your orientation day at UID, and I really take the pleasure to be invited to give you a few words, a presentation that would ignite your minds or get you thinking about design. Frankly speaking, when I stand here, it first reminds me of my first days in SET. That's where I did my undergraduate program. I'd like to share one or two incidences that come in my mind at the moment. It was a 5-year program, and for your internship, one had to go and work for 6 months. I chose to go to Zurich in Switzerland. But the second intention was to save as much money as I could and travel over Europe. And I did so. It was a backpacking trip for 1.5 months from my money collected from the internship stipend. I went to various countries in Europe. What we really looked at, I had a partner with me, and both of us together, we saw the medieval towns in Europe. And it's mesmerizing when you're studying architecture and you get to see these beautiful old towns with lovely plazas, a campanile. People can enjoy. And by now, they are all public spaces, pedestrianized. I come back to India. I still have 2 more studios to go. Pre-final studio was a civic center for Ahmedabad. Site was right next to Ellis Bridge on the banks of Sabarmati. And I was excited. So I designed this beautiful space, and it had a plaza. It had a beautiful promenade that led you to the river. It had areas where you could enjoy the environment, the nature. I had drawings. Then we did hand-rendered drawings and hand-drawn drawings. Okay, this is years ago. And model from cardboard, not a computer model. And I had my jury. So I expressed the project. And my project by the jury was received with skepticism. The jury member said, perhaps you have romanticized architecture. Frankly speaking, I did not agree with him, and I felt that it was not an appropriate comment. However, at that point, I didn't have the self-confidence to say or defend my work. I could not feel that strength. In retrospective, I would like to say that perhaps there could have been somebody who said that design is subjective. Each person will have their own worldview, and you can convince somebody if you yourself believe in it. So your instinct for your own design is most important. And that's one of the messages that I would like to give all the young students who are going to begin their journey in the world of design. The other incident was how I picked an elective. For the students who are new to this field of education, we have mandatory subjects that we all have to do, but we also have an elective, which means it's a thing that you choose on your own, an additional knowledge, additional information, interest that you can pursue through your electives. So I chose one which was called Poetics in Architecture. it was about understanding Falling Water. Falling Water is a building designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and the whole semester, 16 lessons only on this one building. Powerful faculty, Professor Rajiv, who's no more there. He started with the course, and the first couple of classes, with his power on the language, the way he explained every aspect of the design, right from the site to the build form to the water, the concept, etc. By the third class, I felt that a lot of things were soaring way above my head. I couldn't understand. And I went to my mentors, and one mentor and few peers, and I almost felt like giving up that elective. Simple language, कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आता था. And I was advised to continue, and I was informed that if I continue, at some point, the jigsaw puzzle will settle in my mind. I may not understand it today, but later on, it can be something that would be a great thing to have. So, in short, from both these incidences, what I would say that poetics in design is a very important aspect, and to believe in yourself is an important aspect. So the three things to remember is to trust your instincts, embrace unique design perspective, and persist in the face of skepticism. These are three things I would recommend to the young minds who are going to begin this journey. But that's not going to help much. So design, as we all know, it's not limited to aesthetics and mere creativity. It is intertwined with our everyday life, may it be physical or natural. It is a reflection of our observations, experiences, and the way we perceive the world around us. It is the language we speak, the food we eat, clothes we wear, what we are, and what we aspire to. As aspiring designers, it is essential for you to explore, observe, and draw inspiration from your everyday lives. The life here in India and the life of others in other parts of the world. We must remember that design is subjective, and it is through our own unwavering conviction and self-belief that we shape our own architectural or interior narratives. I've been introduced, I'm Canna Patel. I've been working for the last 30 years. Still, even today, in spite of that experience, I feel that I'm continuously evolving as a designer. In this rapidly changing world, we constantly face new dynamics and challenges. I urge you to embrace these changes as opportunities rather than hurdles. Take a moment to reflect on how computers and internet have changed how the whole world functions. And now you have AI, which is going to impact individuals and organizations. So the future holds countless development, and you will face these changes. And what's important is how you face it, how you embrace those changes. And amongst this ever-changing aspect of the world that affects us, what we need to remember that it is our core values that are going to remain constant. It is your personal mantra. Every individual has a personal mantra. When we are young, it is what you have as a child, as a student. As you get older, you are in college, in design, you will evolve your own mantra. It defines who you are as a designer eventually. Discover it, protect it, and trust in it. While I cannot help you today to find a mantra for each one of you, what I can do is share mine. The idea is not to impose my mantra on you, but to just trigger a thought that you can begin discovering yours now on as your journey begins. So with that, I will begin this presentation, which talks about the mantra, what I believe in, and which is timelessness. So when you want to understand or find out about someone, you will look at their publications. You'll read about them. But does that tell you enough about that person? My answer is no. Because that's all written stuff, and it's photographs. You may go and look at the website, yet you'll just see a whole bunch of projects. You may go and look at Instagram, today's method, and yet it's just posts that everyone puts them either as a company or as a personal individual. You may look at drawings, you may go to library, review those. It is still a limitation of what you understand about a designer, about an architect or an interior designer or a fashion designer. I have always believed that the power of a space is measured in the memory of the soul. Essentially, it's only when you experience a space you really can capture the understanding that went behind it, or what you're expected to feel as a viewer or as a user. If you look at photographs, they are just flat 2D images. You look at videos, they were constructed by somebody, but you still never get that experience, that memory that you want to leave behind in your soul. Essentially, what do we do? As designers, we create spaces where you create almost like a journey, a voyage for the people who are going to use it. You take an ordinary floor plan and you kind of convert it at a level such that it becomes a new experience. You may take a very simple functional space like a conference space and turn it around by adding more to it. You may have a contemporary outlook on which is otherwise a traditional use like a jewelry showroom. You may add that extra touch of exuberance or beauty if it's a very special place. You may make a combination of the modern and the old, traditional, and bring it together in a space. Eventually, the process starts by understanding the client. You have conceptual sketches, you have mood boards, material boards, and finally you hand over a project to a client which is very well set and it's given. This is what we do. But how do we do it? So we start with conceptual sketches. You may have a diary where you note things down, bring some of your most earliest thoughts onto paper. You make mood boards, which kind of conceptualizes how the space would be, how the materials would come together. You learn to execute the project. That's one of the most challenging jobs still in India. The processes are not well laid out as yet, in spite of it being for so many years. So you may develop your own in-house methods of how you would execute the project. You may promote young artists, Indian artists, and make their work part of your projects. You would work hand in hand with vendors. You would supervise work. You would evolve things, incorporate craft. And in the process, you will remember that we belong to India. It's very important. It is very important that it's not just you. While you are evolving in your career, you are bringing the vendors, the suppliers, the various contractors together to help them evolve in the society, in the field, as you work along. And with that philosophy, I have never believed in forms and shapes and in spaces. I've always supported the intangible elements in our surroundings. What do I mean by these intangible aspects? I'm going to share with you. That is my mantra, that I support the intangible elements and not the forms and shapes that are incorporated in objects. We are all familiar with this image. We come from a land of spices, colors, and experiences. Festivals are so much part of us, and colors is one of the things that is so much us. We have artworks which are inspired from our surroundings. We have fragrance of freshly bloomed flowers, which are pretty original to India. We are happy to see children when they play in a riverside. You don't always have to be at a swimming pool. We are very comfortable in this kind of chaos. We don't see a problem with that. Cultures may differ between various states, but certain colors and certain traditions are very common. Diversity is not limited to cultures and tradition. We know the economical diversity of this country, and we respect it and make decisions keeping that in mind. We still connect to our mythology. We create value out of nothing. We play a game only with 7 stones. We can turn leaves into serving vessels. We give importance to an entrance. We all know entrance door, entrance space is so important as far as our culture is concerned. We like natural elements in our spaces. Our homes extend out into the nature. We bring the outside in. So essentially what I'm saying is, we design environments, we need to provide a sense of continuity to the past and link the future in order to achieve something truly timeless. That connection is so important, that we belong to India and we will create spaces that will connect to our tradition and to the future of this country. We are from here, we belong here, and we celebrate here. Respecting and responding to the context we are working in. So with that, I'm going to share with you the 5 intangible qualities that I feel perhaps gives you this feeling of timelessness in projects. And those qualities are voluntarily simple, soliciting sensory experience, comfortable with ambiguity, following intuition, and romanticizing nature. Let's look at each one of them carefully, explained by me using images from some of my projects. That's Indian sari. It's such a simple thing, and it can be worn in so many various ways. It's simple, but you can have variations. how do we take this thought forward when it comes to projects? That's an auditorium here in Ahmedabad, AMA. Very few materials used in the project. The choice of materials is few, but it varies in many different ways. That's Alio-Francis Institute here in Ahmedabad, an architecture and interior project. Again, few colors to announce the building. It looks bare, but it's still complete. Two things were achieved: the right cost and the right look. A weekend home in a golf community. A simple terrace converted and made more usable. No wallpapers, but hand-painted artwork. A jewelry showroom here in Ahmedabad. You would expect it to be excessively decorative, but the decoration comes through the door, the flooring, the colors. We've heard that sound. We all know about it. We're familiar with it. It sensorizes our hearing and the emotions. And how can you take this forward in design? A kindergarten school that was designed by us. There was a corridor, and in the corridor, we had these vehicles, partial vehicles, which students would go and sit in and almost feel the street, the sound, the feel of India. Because when we think of our schools, we always think of our corridors where we were chit-chatting and having fun. Classrooms very often is the last place we remember as we get older. And therefore, to celebrate the corridors is very important. That's a clubhouse for a plotted community, which has shared amenities. And that's the entrance. We all live in places in the city, and when we want to get away, we want that feel of sleeping under the tree, which is not possible as such in the heat and the dust. If you want to be still in an air-conditioned room and feel it, you can design something that brings back that feeling. When you have generic houses, you have schemes, bungalow schemes, apartment schemes, they are so identical. And it's only through design that you can give it a special mark, iconic, so people can remember your house. That's a space in governor's residence, a space which is usually used by VVIPs, usually president, visiting president or prime minister. And that's the entry from the elevator onto the floor where they use. It could have been just a corridor, but we decided to highlight it with lights which look like torches. And when you pull a string, all these bells will ring because they're all tied with a pulley on the top. It's one way of announcing somebody's entry into the space. Celebrating processional entries that we always had it in our past, in our festivals. lavish bungalow, a common kind of project that we all handle. It doesn't have to be ostentatious. You can just use lights to highlight the place. You can even use natural light when it comes to the puja rooms. We can't forget that. We've always heard trains go by, right? And it's so much part of our lives, whether we are from a small town, a city, or a metro. But it always leaves us with an ambiguous feeling, wondering whether can you manage that, the speed, the people, the chaos. A normal corporate house. And can you have something which leaves an ambiguous message? This was for a construction company. And the mural that you see as a backdrop to the reception table, that is highlighting all the construction workers. But it's, some people know, some people may not be able to decipher. That's a ground floor of a real estate developer's office, almost like a museum, where they can show some of their achievements, projects. It's a waiting area, but it's an unusual kind of waiting area. Corporate buildings and their lobbies, spaces that you enter every day if you are a user or an owner of an office there, or even a visitor. And can you have spaces that bring a smile on your face? Simple things. That's a weekend home in a golf community. Can you have an unusual space next to the swimming pool? We're all from Gujarat, but a bar is a must. So that's an open bar and designed, leaving a very strong impression. My clients came back saying that everybody takes a selfie picture. That's an apartment on 7th floor. This is in Mumbai. And if you sit at the bar, can you sit there brooding, wondering what's there under that counter? Enjoying that little sip of drink, talking about the little animals that are walking through it. A waiting lobby in a corporate office, unusual, different. And along with a cafe. You know, it was an office where suited people are moving around in ties and they would go there for their lunch break. It's a space which will give them a chance to have fun, take a break from the Thai world. No matter what, we still drive intuitively in this kind of chaos, traffic, day in, day out. That intuition we somehow tend to forget when we design, because there's a lot of rational thoughts that are put into our head over the 5 years of education. And it's important that you should not lose that intuition. And you should trust the intuition. You should use it towards designing at times. Functionality is important, but that intuitive solution is what will give it the uniqueness. A kindergarten school, and those were counseling spaces. It was a very tight space where it can be open and yet give you some level of privacy. Entrance of a jewelry showroom, marked with an elephant, and the door, which has a mirror, mosaic work. In some sense, intuitively, it's if you can't look at yourself, you're not going to worry about wearing those jewelry. If somebody is religious and if it's a norm that they pray before they start their day, create spaces for that. That's an academy, but it doesn't have the luxury of a campus like we have here. It is stacked in a building, 5 floors. And how do you create spaces within the academy which allows them to enjoy? The space created here is the reception where they would have registered the way you register. And there is a mural of Saraswati God. You see the grill, and each student can tie a knot there. It's almost like leaving your memory there. It's fun playing table tennis, but it's fun to enjoy emojis as well. Another campus, multi-story building. The places to enjoy were the lending spaces, areas to sit, areas to chit chat. The retail showroom, which has a facade treatment through nature, and that was done way before greening up spaces came into being. A play area in a school, where simple ceramic water pipes mark the path for the kids to go up on a stage and perform it and have a slide to go down. No steps to go down. Do we remember hearing those sounds? Maybe none of us here has hung on a banyan tree and its branches, but it's one of the most pleasurable things to do in terms of connecting to nature. And how can we bring that in design? Can you create outdoor spaces which are covered away from the sunshine and still enjoy the outside spaces? Can you have spaces within a house that you can walk out at night and have a little chit chat after dinner? Can you have veranda spaces and design swing which has a different kind of sitting arrangement? A food plaza off a highway? Can you bring the trees in a different way? make water part of your design, incorporate it. When you design theaters, you are forced to create walls which will be acoustic. And do you want to do more to it? Do you want to bring nature in? Do you want to create acoustic walls which are more fun looking at? When you're creating spaces, you want to incorporate large sculptures which are part of your design. Spaces that look inside out. Suite rooms in a clubhouse. You may have a duct. And do you want to make the duct more interesting? Have plants in it and bring in natural light in the room through the ducts. So from here, I kind of restate the 5 principles, the 5 mantras, which come together to provide the incentive to create spaces which are timeless. So what's the possible takeaway? This was my mantra. What about you guys? You're going to start soon. So Indianness is not about what we have. It is about who we are. So don't desperately look for design intuitions. You may get the best ones when you are not even looking for any. We have progressed with the world. We have been inspired by the world outside as well. But the soul of the country still remains here. With surprises at every turn of the street. Streets that hold a story within them. We need to learn how to read that story. And as you flow through a maze of 100 different characters, you need to pick yours. Remember, your mantra is unique to you, and it will guide you through the ups and downs, the challenges and triumphs that lie ahead. It is your compass, pointing you in the right direction when the design world seems overwhelming or uncertain. As we continue this day of orientation and the workshops that will follow over here, I encourage each one of you to find your own mantra. They may come to you through teachings. It may be through the wisdom of your peers, or even in moments of quiet contemplation. Embrace this opportunity to explore and discover what resonates with you, what drives you, and what will ultimately define your path as a designer. Even silence speaks aloud. All you need to do is listen carefully. Thank you, everyone. As a token of gratitude, I would like to gift my monographs, which I would like the UID library to have them. and it shows 30 years of work. I also have a digital version that I'm going to share the QR code, and with all the students from today's age, you can scan it so that you can see it at your pace. Thank you everyone for all the patience and the attention that you've given me. I again say that I hope you are inspired from the power of the timeless interiors that I have been doing, and hope it opens up endless possibilities for you in your career.